Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. We'll have a bit of a chat about what is happening here in Spain. We'll go into the press and check out what is happening there. Then at the end of the video, we'll go into the comment section and see what is going on there also. Now, it's a bit of a quiet news day here in Spain today. All of the attention over the last couple of days or so has been centered on the government remodeling. As we know, Pedro Sanchez decided to get rid of some of those old faces in the government and bring in some fresh faces. And apparently some of the ministers that got the flick are not happy about Mr. Sanchez's decision. A lot of the people that were replaced were loyal Sanchez supporters, people that supported him during a crisis that he had a few years ago when he lost the position of leader of the socialists here in Spain. He got that position back, of course, and he went on to become prime minister. But back in 2016, I think it was, he went through a fairly rough time. If you're not familiar with the story of Pedro Sanchez, he was elected to leader of the PSOE party back in 2015, I think it was, there for a year or so. Then some of the powerful people in the party decided to get rid of him and he got kicked out of the party. However, politics being what it is, he made a comeback a couple of years later, managed to get the top position again in the Socialist Party and managed to get Mr. Rajoy out of government with a motion of no confidence a few years ago. And a lot of the ministers that were in that first part of the Sanchez government were people that supported him through that crisis. And as we can see from this headline here, handover, Sanchez disappoints his most loyal group of supporters. People are angry. Pedro has gone back to the PSOE of old, somebody says. So people are angry, and it seems that Mr. Sanchez has got some important people offside. The new ministers, and as I said, there are a lot of fresh faces in the new Sanchez team, were sworn in yesterday in front of the king. So we'll see if this new group of people in the government are able to keep a steady ship and avoid another mutiny inside the PSOE party. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of parts of the country are going through a bit of a heat wave at the moment. Yesterday here in Madrid was a terrible day as far as the weather is concerned. It was about 40 degrees Celsius, very, very hot, very, very dry, and there was a very nasty hot wind blowing all day. Luckily here in Madrid, the weather has cooled down a little bit today. I think it's only going to be about 30. It's going to stay that way, I think, for the rest of the week, and then temperatures are going to go up again come the weekend. And I think the heat wave today is moving to other parts of the country. I think it's moving to that Levante coastline. So if you're down there in Alicante, get ready for some hot weather. We can see in this headline here, los termómetros tocan techo y superan a los 44 grados en el sur y el centro. Solo Galicia y el Cantábrico se libran de este episodio de calor sofocante. So thermometers yesterday reaching their maximum limit, and as we saw there, some parts of the country experiencing up to 44 degrees Celsius. So very, very hot and uncomfortable weather in some parts of the country yesterday. And as we also saw in yesterday's news, we're being told to prepare ourselves for a very hot and long summer. So I think it's time to get out of this part of Spain and head to a place that's a little bit cooler. And finally, a bit of news on the vaccination campaign today. I think that various autonomous communities have announced that they're going to start vaccinating the younger groups of the population. Madrid today apparently has started with the 16 to 29 age group, and the objective that the country has now is to get as many people vaccinated in these age groups as possible before the end of summer. As we know, various autonomous communities here in Spain are experiencing an increase in COVID-19 cases at the moment, especially in Catalonia, Castilla y León, Andalusia. I think cases are on the way up as well. Basically every autonomous community here in Spain, and a lot of autonomous communities are announcing more and more restrictions as the days go by. Luckily, for the time being, the restrictions only seem to be related to nightlife. Places like Valencia have decided to shut down nightlife completely. They've also brought in alcohol bans down there. You can't buy alcohol now after 8 p.m. And the objective that the Valencian community government has is to put an end to street drinking parties. You can still get a beer or a glass of wine or something stronger at a restaurant or a bar, but you can't buy alcohol in supermarkets after 8 p.m. So we'll see if these latest measures and curbs on nightlife here in Spain manage to get the incidence rate down or not. Now let's leave the news there and go into the comments section and check out what is happening there. And we'll have a look at this one here from Daz222. Ola Stuart, you should have no problem finding prawn cocktail crisps or chips in Spain. The popular brand Frit Ravitch has that as one of their flavors. Yeah, Daz, thanks for the comment. I mentioned yesterday that curiosity has got the better of me. I've seen so many comments related to prawn cocktail crisps or chips over the last few days that I'm dying to try them. And I asked the question yesterday, where can I get them here in Spain? A couple of people said Iceland supermarkets, but unfortunately I don't think there's an Iceland supermarket here in Madrid. I could be wrong, but I've never seen one. And you pointing out that brand there, Frit Ravitch or Frit Ravitch, which to be honest, I've never heard of before. So the next time I go to the supermarket, I'll keep an eye out and see if I can find that brand of chips, and hopefully they'll have the prawn cocktail variety in store because I'm looking forward to trying them. One here from Manikan: I'm fed up with people saying young people getting COVID isn't a big deal. They can and do get long COVID, which can leave them with long-term and permanent health problems. As someone who has suffered from chronic pain since the age of 14, I know how developing long-term health problems as a teenager affects your life. Having said that, I've been on the Oddiwella coast for 10 days and have felt safe. We go to the beach early and leave at lunchtime when it gets busy. Avoid crowded places, wear masks and sit outside at restaurants, bars. I've been fully vaccinated, but I still don't want to catch COVID. Re the heat wave, not too bad here today. Yanikan, thanks for the comment and thanks for pointing that long-term COVID fact out there. Somebody else also left a comment talking about that, and it is one of the big problems that young people can have if they get COVID-19. There's been a few stories in the press here in Spain recently of young people who have come down with COVID, spent a little bit of time in hospital, spent a little bit of time in the ICU, and they're telling people about their experience and warning people to be careful. And you're right, you don't want to get a health problem in your teens that can have an impact on the rest of your life. And when it comes to whether it's safe or not here in Spain, we've had a bit of a debate over the last few days about this. People in Valencia telling us that they feel safe down there. You in Alicante there telling us that you also feel safe, but you have to look after yourself. You have to wear your mask. You have to be careful. Better to sit outdoors and not take risks, in my opinion. At least that's what I do. My philosophy from the beginning has been don't want to get it, don't want to give it, and I'm sticking to that. And when it comes to the heat wave, I think you guys were fortunate down there in the Valencian community on the Mediterranean coast that you didn't get hit by the heat wave yesterday or the day before, but I think it's coming today, so get ready. One here from PM: Hi Stuart, thank you for your continued daily updates. I always look forward to hearing what you have to report. I was wondering whatever came out of the investigation of the bailout of the strategic airline that provides essential services flights to Venezuela. Yeah, PM, thanks for the comment, obviously referring to the Plus Ultra airline company that was the beneficiary of a government bailout earlier in the year. I can't remember exactly what the amount was, but it was quite a lot of money, and there was a fairly big scandal associated to this bailout. As we saw yesterday, the minister that was responsible for this bailout, José Luis Ábalos, was replaced in the government, and it's rumoured that the Plus Ultra scandal was one of the main reasons that he was replaced. The last thing I heard about the Plus Ultra case is that it was being investigated in the European Union because a politician there decided to take the case to the EU, but I don't know whether they have released their findings on the case or not, but I'll try to look into it. One here from Juvenal's dad: Not surprising that Pedro Sanchez has left the Podemos portfolios alone. He really needs to keep them on side at the moment. Yeah, Juvenal's dad, thanks for the comment, and you're right, that does seem to be the reason why Pedro Sanchez didn't touch those particular ministers, the Podemos ministers in the government. I think there's 5 of them, if I'm not mistaken, and they all kept their jobs. Some people were saying that Mr. Garzón, the Consumer Affairs Minister, was going to lose his portfolio because of the Meatgate scandal last week and various other scandals, but that was not the case. And I think that if Pedro Sanchez doesn't have the support of Podemos in the government, in the coalition, he's not going to last for very much longer. So obviously he doesn't want to ruffle too many feathers there. One here from Hildy: Stuart, it is very easy to be a vegetarian here in Spain. In all the supermarkets there are lots of veg products, and Spain is also a bean country, so not a problem at all. Yeah, Hildy, thanks for the comment and thanks for pointing that out, that it's not difficult to be a vegetarian here in Spain because supermarket shelves are stocked with lots of vegetarian products, and you're right, Spain is a bean country, lots of different types of beans. However, what I meant to say, and I probably didn't express myself as well as I should have, is that when it comes to going to restaurants here in Spain, there are often not a lot of vegetarian choices, or at least in the restaurants that I go to, the traditional Spanish restaurants. Normally you've got meat dishes, you've got fish dishes, but you don't have a lot of vegetarian choices. There are some bean dishes, but they normally include meat. For example, dishes like fabada, which is a bean dish, but it's also full of chorizo. The situation's obviously changing in the big cities here in Spain. You can now find vegetarian restaurants, something that you couldn't really do 20 or 25 years ago. Even here where I live now, we have a vegetarian restaurant, which is apparently very, very good. But I still don't see a lot of vegetarian choices when you go to normal run-of-the-mill restaurants here in Spain, or at least that's my impression, but I could be wrong. I heard a story a couple of years ago of somebody who was a vegetarian, came to Spain, went to a restaurant and asked if they had any vegetarian choices on the menu. The waiter said that yes, they had a nice soup, so the person ordered it, and when the soup came to the table, he stuck in his spoon and the first thing he pulled out was a ham bone, because it was the famous sopa de cocido, which is basically a meat-based soup. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.